Hello everyone, and welcome to This Nintendo Life, episode 94. My name is MBZ, I'm your host for this here podcast, and joining me as co-conductor on the hype train to E3, it is, of course, Bally. How you doing? You getting the coals in the fire, Bally?
E3 hype train!
Yes, it is. We've got to jump on it. Unfortunately, unlike 8.4 Play, we don't have access to just putting a random song in every time we say E3 hype train.
We need to get that sometime, don't we? Just press a button and it goes, plays the music.
You see, if production was easier and I could just do that from like right now as opposed to editing in post, it would be much easier because this is an edited podcast, so I actually have to go in there and chop up audio. Whereas, you know, lots of people like Giant Bomb now and Kind of Funny, they're all like, we have live productions.
We could get an email jingle.
Exactly, yeah, man, that'd be great. I love that. I love also how when they started doing it live, it was like everyone's like, "Oh my god!" Like some people, like Dan, who never actually listened to the Bombcast, like heard the music for the first time. Yeah, it's really weird. It's like the idea that you know that music so well, and then the people on the podcast actually have never heard it before.
Yeah,
it's funny. But in any case, Bally, you actually listen to our podcast, so it would.
I do.
Make a difference to you,
I'm weird like that. I check the final product every week and make sure that it's all in good health, and partly just to make myself work out what words I'm repeating and how I'm sounding as well, so that I
trying
know
to get better.
I know how I sound, so I can try and improve it next time. Essentially,
yeah, it's all, we've got to strive for perfection here, so that's what we're going for. And this show, of course, will be perfection as always. So you can not worry about that situation. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff this week. It is mainly focused on E3 because that is the hot topic. It is coming up very, very soon, and all of you are going to be very excited for it, as are we. So we're going to talk about that in the second half of the show. Bally, what is coming up? How are we going to dole things out this week?
For the first segment, it's going to be a shorter segment talking about what we've been playing, and then we're going to do a 2-segment show, like you said. So the second segment is going to be an extended E3 segment where we're going to first off run through our 3 predictions and then one sort of fun prediction on top of that. 3 predictions each, 1 fun prediction each as well. And then we're going to round up a few of your emails that you wrote into us with regards to E3 and your predictions at home. And then we've got a few tweets as well. And then that'll be the end of the show.
Yeah, it's going to be a long one, so you better strap yourselves in. Got some fun things to talk about, so let's get going. Let's kick it off, Bally, with some video games that you've been playing. The ARMS Test Punch happened for the second weekend in a row. We got a chance to play some more of it.
I've been playing Spectre of Torment. I'm going to hopefully talk about that next time. I've been playing more Zelda. That's an ongoing project that will be finished shortly. And like you said, we played more of the ARMS Global Test Punch. So I've done 2 sessions now, and I enjoyed the second session a lot more. I went in focusing, saying, right, I'm gonna just stick with Springman from the off, and if I get bored of him, I'll try another character at the end. And it worked so much better. Like, I was really just kind of getting a feel for the character, how he moves, how he punches. I wasn't mixing up his types of arms too much. I was just trying to stick with the same set and get good with it.
Were you using 2 different arms, or were you going with 2 of the same?
I went one normal arm, like the top. I think it's just called the normal.
It's just like a boxing glove, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a boxing glove. And then I don't much like the boomerang one, so I went for
neither do I.
The sort of triple punch.
Yeah, the multiple projectile ones I like as an extra thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just like a nice spread. So I went with that, and I did motion controls the entire time. I actually thought it worked really nicely. And I was getting a lot more one-on-one battles, which was lovely because they're easily the best part of that game. And like really kind of, it's sort of like a weapons triangle almost, like block beats punch, punch beats grab, and then grab beats block, So you've got this dynamic going on, and I really felt like I was trying to like not so much athletically get out the way of my opponent, but just like psyching them out essentially. And that's what I think this game is quite good at, actually, is the mental aspect of a fighting game, because it's very slow.
And I think that part of it is even more emphasized with the fact that it takes time for arms to reach you.
Yeah.
So it's not like a Street Fighter where you have to have the lightning fast reactions. You can afford to have a bit more delayed reaction because you can see what's going on, but it also helps you like try and force your opponent into a corner by pushing them in a certain direction and then getting them with the other arm or something like that. So
exactly,
I appreciated that a lot, and I agree with you that the second time round I played it more last weekend, and then I played like 1 hour this weekend. But when I went back to it after we'd recorded like that first or that last segment last time, I kind of did a 180 on it where I was like, well, actually, like, because I focused on just playing as Mechanica, really enjoying her playstyle, and just the one-on-ones were going really well. And I was using motion control mainly. And once you get into the mindset of how everything works and you start getting in some really tight matches, it's super satisfying. And I still stand by the fact that I think the motion controls feel good. And part of the reason I like Mechanica, I think, is because the rumble is a lot heavier when you play as her. I'm not sure if this is the same with Master Mummy as well, but like it seems like the heavier characters have heavier rumble, so those punches feel like they have a lot more weight behind them. And I thought that was a big thing to like help it feel good. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, my frustration was, and I think that I'd get better at this if I buy the game, is that I just don't feel in very good control of like the curvature of the punches and sort of the alignment. And I really noticed this when I was doing the targets game within the global test punch this round. So it's like this targets game is shooting targets. Whoever gets the most targets wins. It's not the most complicated of games.
You also get bonus points for hitting your opponent.
Yeah, you
on
can
the
grab
other side.
and hit your opponents as well. And I was just really struggling at times to like line up my punches and actually make them connect. And that was a bit worrying considering that the targets are stationary. And then when you're playing an opponent, obviously they're moving about. So like I think that it's something I could get better at, but generally I just felt like the movement was better. Like I felt, and I've really noticed that your movement is based on where your arms are. So if you've got one arm out, you'll move a little bit more slowly. If you've got two arms out, you can barely move at all, and you're essentially rooted to the ground, and that's obviously when you're most vulnerable. So when you're going for a grab, the character's basically rooted to the ground. You can just dodge to the side. If your opponent's going for a grab, you can dodge to the side and either punch or try and grab them. And like you're far more likely to make contact. And I was really getting into that the second time round rather than the first time where it was all just a blaze in my face. I still think the 2 versus 2s and the sort of all versus everyone and sort of 3 and 4 players, they feel pretty rough. And even though I was sort of changing my focus using the button on the left Joy-Con, it didn't feel amazing. Like I still way prefer the one-on-one. I also played the basketball game. That's quite a lot of fun. It's basically just who can ever make the most grabs in the space of a few minutes, and then obviously you get 2 pointers and 3 pointers based on where your opponent is, and it's just a bit fun. So
I'm really annoyed because I never got it once. I played for an hour and a half of this weekend's total test punch stuff. Never got the basketball thing at all.
Did you face headlock?
I did, yeah. I faced headlock a few times. I faced a level 4 and a level 5 version. Don't think we ever beat the level 5 one. He was really difficult. But level 4 we did beat a couple of times with the groups that I was with. And that was interesting because it's not like you're going up against... It's not like, 3 people ragging on one opponent who's at their mercy. Like, Headlock has fucking loads of arms and is really dangerous and has to be, taken care of by a lot of people at once. It was interesting fighting an AI because it was actually pretty tough at times. And it seems like the game has good... computer opponents for you to go up against. So when you're going through the single player, and I've heard Neil Ronahan's been talking about a bit of it from Nintendo World Report, and he said that there are different difficulty levels that you go on in the single player mode. And he was saying that he could beat the game at around level 4, and I think there are 7 levels total. So it gets pretty rough out there with the computer stuff going on. So I found it fun. I thought it was interesting, but it was also frustrating because there was one time where we got him down to like literally a sliver of health,
I had that
and time ran out, and I was like, we lost because time ran out. So it is interesting because it encourages you not to play so defensively, because you can block a lot of his stuff. He doesn't grab super often. So if you're just standing there blocking, you can basically wear him over attrition if you're like being patient, but the timer it forces you to be offensive against him. So I thought that was an interesting twist to it. But whether that becomes a full thing in the actual game, I don't know.
So overall, like, my thoughts have gone right up on this game. I don't think I'm convinced enough to pay full whack and get it day one. And I'm definitely far more excited about a game like Splatoon 2. And definitely want to use the gap between now and Splatoon 2 to, finish Zelda, maybe play a couple of smaller games, finish off something else a bit longer I've been playing. So I'm not keen on getting it like right this second, but like if the community sticks around, the game maybe comes down a little bit in price. And if you pick it up, Emblem, like I think it'd be a good game on the Switch to like pick up, and I think it's looking good.
Yeah, I'm more likely to buy it now. I again agree with you that I'm not sure I'm day one, but I think for me that's not to do with the game not convincing me. It's more to do with the price stuff in the UK, where games are just like very expensive at the moment, especially new Nintendo games for whatever reason. And I need it to be at lower price for me to be in day one. But I do think that waiting is going to benefit us in the long run, for the only reason that they're releasing free content over time, and those updates are just going to add more and more stuff to the game, so that by the time we probably get to it, hey, we're going to have a much more fully featured thing to jump into. Although the one worry I have is like when we jump in, everyone's going to be really fucking pro and we're going to get destroyed online. So that's
hopefully there'll be a good ranking system or something.
Yeah. If they match you up against like equally competent people, I hope so. But here's another worry that I have is it seems like it's going to be split into this party mode that they were showing off during the test punch and a competitive mode. And I worry that there is not a way that you can just do casual 1v1, because the party mode is going to randomly assign you to one of these things, volleyball or basketball or 1v1 or multiplayer things. And I would just like a mode where it's just 1v1, but not necessarily super competitive, because you have this. It's kind of the Smash Brothers model where you have for glory and for fun.
Glory, yeah.
And I don't like either of those, because for fun is just a mess of bollocks, and for glory is just filled with professionals who kick your ass. So for me and you, who are the kind of people who want to play the 1v1 standard game, but also are clearly not good enough to do that against most people, there isn't a way for us to do that right now, and that's disappointing to me.
Yeah, we'll see how it pans out online. I have faith that they can at least have enough modes to get something on the go,
Yeah, and I will say that as a handheld game now, I think I'm much more confident in it, having played most of the hour and a half that I did this weekend in handheld mode. The button controls work well. The only problem, of course, is guard on the click stick, but aside from that, I felt like I was doing really well, especially with just moving around and jumping and dodging and charging up your punches and all that stuff. If you're using the shoulder buttons as the punches and the face buttons to jump and dodge, it's great, and I think it works excellently. And I think both motion controls and standard controls are a good way to play this game. So I don't think either side is getting too compromised, even though there are drawbacks to both, of course. But yeah, so overall, I think we're both more positive on ARMS than we were last time. Just took some time, I think, to play a bit more and get used to it. So
MBZ, what else have you been playing this week?
Well, Bally, I have a nice window of free time here, having finished my exams and having nothing to do right now, waiting for my results essentially to see what my future is going to be. I'm playing a fuck ton of loads of things. I finished Fire Emblem Echoes. That was around 30 hours or so of my time, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think that is an excellent game that is so weird and different, and was really kind of the refresher I needed for Fire Emblem. It's just so kind of strange in a lot of things it does, but it's also super satisfying. What I will say is it's the first time in a Fire Emblem game that on the final map or final kind of few areas I've been turning animations off, and there's a simple reason for that. There are so many fucking enemies, and it's a combination of both the enemy and you, because in this game there is a skill that your healers can learn called Invoke, And what it essentially does is you can cut your HP in half and summon a bunch of like ghost warriors to fight for you. So they're just like units for the slaughter, essentially. You can do chip damage to your enemies, but if they die, who cares? You can summon more of them. And so I had a bunch of healers, and they were just summoning all these dread fighters for me. And my enemies had some canters, and they were just summoning witches, and they were summoning a bunch of fucking eyeball monsters that were coming. Like in Sacred Stone, they have the eyeball monsters. They're very reminiscent of those ones. And I was just like, the last map took me maybe an hour and a half, and that was with animations turned off. Like, that is how ridiculously long and intense that last map is, and it's one of the most like tense last maps I've had in a Fire Emblem game in recent memory, because boy, like trying to take down this fucking dragon while all these things are around me and everything was like, it's slow process of getting everyone down and being very careful and using Miller's turn wheel to turn back time at points if I'd made a mistake. It was intense stuff, but it was really good. And I think it's nice that, you know, you have these two armies and you kind of have your units that you're using throughout the most of the game. Great stuff. The story, fun stuff as well. I don't think it like lands super well at the end or anything, but I think it's overall an improvement for the series, and it just makes me look forward more to Fire Emblem on Switch. So glad I played it. I think it's a good one to go out there, especially if you're maybe turned off by the more recent Fire Emblems and more of a classic fan. This is absolutely right down your avenue. So I'd encourage people to give it a shot. Other than that, I beat Severed as well. Severed, which I talked about a few episodes ago from Drinkbox Studios, and I think that game gets really tough towards the end, but I think in a very satisfying way. A lot of juggling between enemies and using your swipes and stuff, and you kind of get powers later on, which let you freeze enemies in place and stuff, so you can like micromanage them a bit better. Final boss is, God, it really took a lot of intense concentration, and like my fingers were almost shot by the end of that by the amount of just like swiping and stuff you have to do, but it's an excellent game. Like, I'm really glad I played it, because it's the sort of thing that if Drinkbox hadn't made this, I don't think it would ever have been on my radar, because it's just the whole concept of it being a touchscreen based first person dungeon crawler. Like, that's not the sort of thing I would ever pick up, but Drinkbox seal of approval, I'm in there, and you know, they have never done me wrong. They continue to not do me wrong, and this is a fantastic fucking game. So I encourage people to check out Severed. It's awesome. And Bally, it's on Wii U. You'll get to it one day, I know, as with all these games.
But it'd be so nice on Switch, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah, and we discussed that last time, I think, or the last time we talked about this, but yeah, I hope they bring it over, and we'll see about that. But the thing that has fucking just stolen my life right now and has got me in a way that I never expected is Overwatch. And most people will not be a stranger to Overwatch, because it's a fucking huge game, and I think they've sold over 30 million copies, or there are 30 million players playing it now, which is an absurd number. That's like Mario Kart Wii numbers in terms of penetration in the market. And the problem I always had with Overwatch was I'd watched Giant Bomb play some of it early on when it was just coming out, and I was getting motion sick a little bit watching them. So I was always a little bit wary of this game, because, as you know, Bally, I suffer greatly from, you know, games like The Witness just putting me into a coma, essentially, and stuff like Unfinished Swan, which I tried to play, and stuff like A Story About My Uncle, which I bought on Steam and then couldn't finish because I couldn't play it. Like, there have been multiple games I've bought and stopped playing because of motion sickness. And so I was worried, especially with a high kind of price point entryway with Overwatch, not high, but, you know, it's like 35 quid or whatever, that I didn't want to take a risk on it. And everyone was so positive about it. Everyone was like really into it. And I think the one thing that made me think about playing it the most was Alex Navarro, who loved Splatoon and had that as his game of the year when Splatoon came out. His game of the year was Overwatch. And I think he was really, you know, someone who probably has similar tastes in terms of Nintendo stuff and in terms of just games generally. I was interested in checking it out. So what happened was the anniversary weekend happened, which essentially was like Blizzard were putting Overwatch out there for a weekend to be free. And I was like, great, this is a perfect opportunity for me to just try it, right? Just see if I can get through with any motion sickness, see if it affects me at all. Well, I'm actually playing the game. And so I did. I started playing it. And I kid you not, Bally, within like 40 minutes to an hour, I was just in love. I was like, this game is seminal in a way that I have not felt like the magic of a multiplayer game in a very long time. It is incredible in so many ways, and it's hard to really nail down like the one thing that makes it stand out, but I think Blizzard are just an incredible company when it comes to polish and sheen and the kind of things that we respect Nintendo for, right? Like, they have games that are incredibly friendly to a wide audience. They have great art design, and they generally make games that are accessible, and they never have issues with bugs or anything like that. Like, they are pretty much a clean sheet. And so a lot of that stuff helps, right? It's kind of the layer on the cake. But the thing with Overwatch is it's so much fun to play regardless of who you choose to play as. So I started playing mainly as Mercy, who is a healing character. She can like follow around the team and basically either use her staff to basically give damage bonus to a character. So if like someone's shooting someone and you're giving them damage bonus beam, they'll do more damage, and then you can heal them as well on the other click of the mouse. And just going around and trying to manage my own team and keep them alive and make sure that they are getting the objective done and making sure that they're, you know, staying alive in these one-on-one combat situations is really exciting in a way that you never think that a healing role in a game is going to be. And I was just smitten with it. I'm like, man, this is just... It feels really good to do. The matches are set up in a way that they're not too long. They'll probably last maybe 6-7 minutes at the longest. So you always feel like, oh, I can do another one and another one. And it has that hook, which is, you know, leveling up an experience. And the whole idea that Blizzard have these loot boxes, which the reward for leveling up isn't unlocking new items or weapons, right? Because I think that's a problem a lot of people have with Call of Duty is when the higher level characters or the high level players get access to better guns, essentially, right? That's their progression mechanic, is the better you get, the more weapons you get. Whereas this approach is more to do with aesthetic stuff, where it's like, if you get a loot box, you can randomly unlock a skin or, you know, an emote or something like that. Just something aesthetic for your character that makes you appreciate it on your own and like be like, I really like this character with this skin and I'm going to use this one. The thing that I also still think is a bit dumb is Overwatch is a first person game, so you never really see your skin most of the time because you're like, you can't see your character, right? And I've always thought that that's a bit stupid and why people got obsessed by it, but I'm still kind of obsessed by it in a stupid way, you know, like there's lots of cool different designs, and it goes beyond what I think we usually think of in terms of skins. When we think of something like Smash Brothers, they usually just change the color palette, right? Like Samus has all these different colored suits, and that's great, and I like that, and I like that I usually play with a Fusion suit colored Samus and everything, and I identify with that one because Fusion's my favorite Metroid game. But what they do with the Overwatch skins is they are all like completely different. Like they have a completely different look to them. Like Mercy is this angel character. She has these wings and everything. And a skin that I unlocked for her is like this weird like devil imp. So she's basically turned into like a hell kind of demon, but like still looks like Mercy, but has like different colored wings and it's like neon and all this stuff. It's like, it's a completely different change, but it's something that makes that character unique to you and personal. And I know there are a lot of issues with this in terms of it being a fee-to-play game, as Jim Sterling says, where you have bought this game and you spent money on it, but also they're charging for microtransactions with loot boxes. But the thing is, you don't have to spend any money on that if you don't want to. Every level up you get, you'll unlock one, so that's fine. And the thing that I think gives this game longevity more than anything else is that there are so many characters, and learning a character and getting good at a character takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of patience, a lot of effort to really understand them and to know how they work and to know how they would benefit the team and using them in that certain scenario. And I've only played a handful of characters so far. I've spent like 3 hours with Mercy, I've played like 2 hours with Tracer, and like a bunch of different characters I've been jumping around with. And I just see a future where they keep adding characters to this game, and I keep wanting to play and learn new ones. So it just has me by the balls right now, Bally. It's absolutely thrilling. It's so much fun. It's just a joyous game in so many ways. And I'm playing it for the sake of playing it. Like, there's sometimes you come across games and you're like, man, this feels good and I just want to keep playing this because it's fun. And Overwatch is that distilled to a T.
How do they make sure that the teams are balanced between more offensive characters, tank characters, healers? Like, is there any sort of mechanism for that? Because a big criticism of Splatoon with like, you know, the difference between paint rollers and snipers and the standard guns is that like there's no mechanic to balance those different traits within a team, so you can get a team of 3 paint rollers which will just get mowed down by some guns or something, you know. So how does it have something to balance that?
So it's not necessarily a mechanic, but before every game, when you're just playing the standard mode, it has a screen where everyone picks their character, and usually it will say, okay, you don't have enough healers. Someone should be a healer on this team. It'll basically have this thing in the corner where it says, like, too many snipers, or no healer, or, like, too many low offense.
Is it locked like that, or is that just a recommendation?
It's a recommendation, but it's a strong recommendation, and I think the reason it works is because if you want to level up and get another loot box faster, you want to win the match because you get a bonus 500 experience for winning the match. And if you're going to win the match, you have to have a good team composition, right? Like a team which is just a bunch of people playing snipers and offense characters are going to lose because they don't have the defenses to hold a point or be defensive or anything like that. And so if you want to do well and you want to get a lot of experience, you're encouraged like to play with the team and to do well. And that doesn't always work because sometimes people are like, no, I want to play Hanzo for this game, so I'm going to fucking do it because I'm a sniper and I like it. And, you know, that'll happen. But I think for the most part, and from my experience so far, people generally are like, okay, I'll play this character. And also, I think it's worked out well for me because I don't think a lot of people play healers generally in games like this because most people are like, I just want to do the shooty and kill all the people. And fair enough, I think a lot of kind of PC games generally are training people to do that. So oftentimes it'll be like, we need a healer. And I'm like, oh, that's fine. I'll play Mercy. I like playing a healer. You know, I actually enjoy doing that. So I'm not only benefiting my team, but I'm also playing something that I've been enjoying doing anyway. So I felt the need to kind of contribute in that sense too. Yeah, I think that another thing that is interesting for you in particular, Bally, is this game has a lot of fucking stats, and like we rave about the activity log and all that stuff. It breaks down by like how many hours you've played each character for,
cool.
How much healing you've done as this character, how much damage you've done over your lifetime. Like, it's super niche, going really digging into the detailed stats pages that are awesome, and I really appreciate this about the game. Keeps track of how many wins you've had, like how many hours total you've played. It's great. All that stuff is so well presented. And I just think that Blizzard have done just a fucking fantastic job of creating a universe and characters that are all appealing and unique and different and feel different to play and are just really, it's great. I don't know how much I would enjoy playing this on console because I'm not a big fan of, you know, using twin sticks for first person shooters. But on PC it's been wonderful. And honestly, if this came to Switch, I think it might be a thing that I would pick up again, if only because this game portably would be magical. I think I could get over the double stick thing just to play it on a portable system. And I hope Blizzard do that. But we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I think you would really enjoy Overwatch as well. As someone who likes Splatoon, Bally, it has a similar feel to it.
Come to Switch. I'll give it a go.
Yeah, apparently. You're not going to go anywhere else. You're just sitting there. So
I sit and wait. They come to me. That's how it works.
They come to you. Of course they do. So anyway, that's taken over my life right now. And I am absolutely in love with it. So didn't expect that, but came out left field, and that was weird because it was the weekend of the ARMS test punch as well, so it was like these two games that are kind of similar with all these kind of character driven things going on. It was weird, but yeah, in any case, that's going to close us out for the first segment, but do not go anywhere. Join us for the second half of the show, in which we will be discussing E3 predictions, your predictions, and everything to get us ready for the big electronic triple. So don't go anywhere. We shall be right back. right, everyone, welcome back to the second half of the show. And this week we are doing an extended segment of E3-ness, which means talking our predictions, bringing in some of your predictions that you sent via email and via Twitter, and just getting ourselves ready for the big day, which by the time this episode goes up will be only a few days away. So Bally, we're excited here. We're ready to go. What are your plans for preparing yourself for E3? Are you going to have a pizza ordered in? Are you going to be sitting there ready? I know you're going to have to rush to get home to watch the Nintendo event.
No, I was just going to say that you'd asked me to listen to a couple of E3 specials from previous years of our podcast just to check out the format we were doing for this segment, and in the episode where we're doing the predictions, you sound unbelievably hyped compared to how you just sounded now.
Really? Well,
you're just you're oozing with energy, and then this time you're right, welcome back to this.
Well, I feel, Bally, that as we get older, we become more cynical.
We're getting more cynical. The podcast is ticking on, and we're just not as young as we used to be.
No, of course not. I'm always excited. I'm still excited for E3, of course. But I think the one thing that I've learned over the years, and it's been hit hard, is when Nintendo fuck up and do bad, and I have high expectations, it feels really terrible. You don't want to, blow up your expectations and then...
And we've done that a number of times, haven't we?
Right, and then be underserved because it kind of takes all the hot air out of it. Because E3 is this event that you wait for the whole year. And if it comes around and, your favorite company showing off the games you want to see don't do what you want, then it's a deflating feeling. So I've maybe kind of reduced my personal crazy hype over E3 to a degree, but I think it's to my benefit, because when things go well, it's wow, that was really great and I really enjoyed it.
And I think Nintendo did it for us last year by saying, right, well, we're only talking about one game. We were so we had sort of all the air taken out of our sails before E3 even got there. So by the time it got there, we were all energized again.
Yeah, and the thing with that was, despite it being that one game, it was an incredible showing for Zelda. So we were incredibly excited, despite the fact that it was just, the one thing they were showing. This year, however, we're back to kind of standard stuff. Not necessarily standard. I mean, it is standard by Nintendo standards, although, again, Bally, we were having a chat about this before we started recording, but why Nintendo feel the need to change the name of their fucking thing every time? It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, it was originally the Nintendo Direct for E3, and then they changed it to a digital event for a couple of years. And then, obviously, last year was Zelda Treehouse stuff, which didn't really have a name. It was just hey, we're doing Zelda, and this time it's called Nintendo Spotlight. And I don't know, it's the same thing every year. It's the video, pre-recorded video. They show us a bunch of shit. Why do they have got to rebrand it? Because no one remembers the name. So anyway, minor nitpick, but that's Nintendo. We have to minor nitpick them, because it's kind of the point of this podcast. There's no reason it would exist.
If we don't, who will?
Exactly. I mean, other Nintendo podcasts, but they're not as good as us, clearly. So let's lay out what we're doing for this segment. Then we're going to be beginning with our predictions. We have 3 predictions each, and then a 4th prediction that is kind of a wild card, just kind of going out there with something a little crazier, a little bit high in the sky. And then after that, we are going to visit some of your predictions that you sent in via email, as well as a couple through Twitter that we just asked for recently. So beginning things off then, Bally, what is your first prediction for Nintendo at E3 2017?
I think we're going to get the Virtual Console for the Switch, and that's a very vague prediction. I'm going to go into some detail. So I think that you will be given the ability to transfer Virtual Console games from both the Wii U and the 3DS to your Switch system. The systems it will include on the new Virtual Console will be almost everything. So it's going to include NES, SNES, N64, GameCube, Wii, Game Boy Advance, but no DS, 3DS, or Wii U. DS for the reason that I don't think they can get the touchscreen quite right. 3DS, same thing, touchscreen isn't quite right. It's also too recent. I think they'll also leave out Wii U games for now, because obviously they're quite hard to emulate. Some of them are hard to emulate.
And also they're doing all these deluxe versions anyway, right, Wii U games. So
exactly. So yeah, like I said, no DS, Wii U, or 3DS. Too tricky to manage. And I think each of those systems on launch is going to have about 8 to 10 of the games each of the big hitters. So similar to the Virtual Console on Wii U, I think it'll cost like roughly $1, £1, like $1.50 or whatever per game to bring them to the new system. And I think this will come out all at the end of summer.
Okay, I think you're being very optimistic,
but
this will this I have a very similar prediction, so we'll kind of segue mine in here as well.
Roll yours out then.
So yeah, in terms of the Virtual Console, here's what I think. I think they're going to announce it, they're going to talk about the program. I don't think it's going to be called Virtual Console. I think they're going to do a rebranding, and it's going to have a different name. I think it could be something along the lines of Nintendo Classics or something that's similar to
I think they are, but they will keep Virtual Console in the name, and it'll be distinct from any subscription service that might be in the online service and everything.
Okay.
I think it's going to be distinct, and they'll keep VC.
So the idea that the Virtual Console name means a la carte kind of buying games. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I just think they're going to drop it at this point and try something else to kind of bridge a lot of stuff underneath, so they don't have to worry about the baggage. I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with the name Virtual Console and the way they've handled it in the past, so maybe leaving that behind is something they'll do. But here's the thing where I think you're way too optimistic about is the number of consoles that they'll represent, and also the number of games that will come out per console at launch. I think that because Nintendo are weird, they're just going to put out a really weird selection. So I think they're going to launch with NES, SNES, GBA, and GameCube. A couple of reasons for that. NES and SNES are the obvious picks because they're easy to do. They are a lot of nostalgia for most people who are buying Switch. So you can put out things like Mario World and the original Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda, things like that. Stuff that was on the NES Mini and will probably be on the SNES Mini as well. GBA, because the inevitability of Mother 3 is like nothing else, and so that has to happen, and I think Mother 3 will probably be announced alongside a Virtual Console announcement. And then GameCube, because that's been the rumour going along, and it makes sense to have GameCube games on there. You also have the idea that a lot of people who grew up playing the GameCube are probably of an age now where they're getting nostalgic for it and they're wanting to revisit those titles. So my lineup would be NES, SNES, GBA, GameCube. I don't know how many titles would be for each one. I would say probably about 3 for GameCube, GBA maybe 3 or 4, and then NES and SNES maybe a bit higher because they are, of course, kind of lower maintenance and they have released them many times before. But I agree that previous purchases will carry over and have the $1 upgrade fee or however much.
From Wii U or 3DS or both?
See, that's a hard one because I think with 3DS in its current state and the idea that they don't want to push the narrative that it's a successor, I think for the moment it might just be a Wii U thing. And that's why I say that NES, SNES, and GBA are the ones, because there's no Game Boy on Wii U. That's only on 3DS. Whereas GBA is a Wii U thing. So you can bring over GBA games from your Wii U. Yeah, obviously, because Nintendo. And GameCube, of course, because that's the thing they can probably now do. So yeah, I think that's generally my prediction. Again, kind of going into a lot of the minutiae, but talking this out, it definitely seems like we're going to learn something about the Virtual Console at E3.
When's it coming?
Oh yeah, sorry, that was also part that of my prediction is I think it's going to launch at the end of the year. I think that we've seen so far that Nintendo are behind in a lot of aspects just because the released the statement the other day that they are delaying their online subscription to 2018, which why that's happened, who knows? But maybe some people posited the idea that at Christmas, if you get a Switch and you have to pay for online, it might be a bit of a turn-off. So just getting free online for people who open their Switch and have Mario Kart and then they can just jump in online straight away. That's an interesting thing that someone said. But I do think that going along with the idea that the Switch was launched way too early, it's going to be delayed Virtual Console stuff. So it's not going to be end of summer. It's not going to be anywhere close to E3. It'll be end of the year.
Well, I hope my prediction's right and you're wrong. Because
yeah, so do I.
That's
of course. I do hope that yours is right, but knowing Nintendo, mine is probably going to be right. And that obviously precludes them from a shadow drop of Mother 3, which everyone love a Mother 3 shadow drop. Be like, it's available now.
Is there some way they could do the shadow drop but then still launch Virtual Console much later? Is that a possibility?
No, I don't think so. Unless you're branding Mother 3 as its own unique thing, like, say, if you were to remake it and make the graphics a bit better or whatever, like, put it out as a retail product as well as a digital product, like, make an event of it, essentially, that's the only way I see that happening. And they could potentially do it because they have to localize the game, so they have to change things about it, and there's a potential that could happen. But yeah, I think I'm very interested in how everything's going to be updated, because with this means that they'd have to update the eShop, of course, and bring in new categories. I think the eShop is in dire need of reworking. It's so simple and bare bones right now, and it's very difficult to kind of find something you're looking for. Everything gets buried very easily.
Like, you can't. Yeah, I tried to go in there just to get the Puyo Tetris demo a while ago, and it was I like could not find it. I had to like go out of the eShop, go into like the promotional video section that's like in the news section, I guess. Go to Puyo Tetris and then like click download demo from there. Like I couldn't even get to it directly in the eShop.
Yeah, it's a bad system right now, and just generally, we've talked in the past, but the UI on Switch needs a revamp. That's something I hope they address at E3, but I doubt they will, because again, Nintendo being very slow on the rollout of things in terms of services and features. I think that there will be a UI redesign, but again, it'll probably be by the end of the year, because they just are kind of lagging behind. Like, where are folders, for example? Where are things to more customize the home menu? Where are themes and all this stuff? Like, it seems like they need to implement a lot more of these kind of extraneous features, and I don't know that E3 is the place to do that. It seems more like a kind of late of year direct that they'd announce something like that, because it's more niche and more hardcore, but I hope they get around to it. But yeah, I definitely think that the whole idea of having these virtual console titles portable, especially for GameCube, is going to be a unique one. Yeah. I hope they include save states with GameCube as well, because they did that with N64 and Wii U.
They did it with Wii on Wii U, didn't they?
No, they didn't. The way that Wii games worked on Wii U was it was essentially going into the Wii hardware portion of the system and just booting it from there. So it was basically just loading a Wii mode and using that, and so you can't use save states in that mode, because it essentially just thinks it's a Wii game on an original Wii system, and so they couldn't. But if they're doing GameCube with an emulator they've built themselves from the ground up, they could absolutely implement that stuff, and that could be useful. I don't think GameCube games suffer as much from the issues of the NES and SNES era, but there are games like F-Zero GX, for example, where, hey, a save state would probably be useful for some of those races, right, Bally? Because those are a pain in the arse.
Wow. That save stating a game that fast just, like, plays with my mind. Like, it's like, how does that
I'm more talking along the lines of before a race starts, so that you don't have to redo the entire GP again, which is something that I struggle with on the Super Nintendo version.
Yeah, definitely.
So, are there any hopes and dreams you have for launch games for the Virtual Console? What do you think is going to be popping up? Do you think it's just going to be... I mean, for the NES and Super Nintendo, probably the old favourites are coming along. You got Link to the Past and Super Mario World and, Mario 3.
I can't see how they can get the rights, but I really want Rogue Squadron on GameCube. Like, Rogue Squadron 2, I believe it is, and also,
the launch title for GameCube.
Yeah, and like Rebel Strike, like those are really, really good games. But
a nice nod would be if they launched the GameCube Virtual Console with Pikmin and with Rogue Squadron, just like the original GameCube launch.
And Luigi's Mansion, yeah.
Exactly. That would be a nice nod for sure.
I really want like Sunshine on GameCube Virtual Console.
Yeah, I think Sunshine is my most wanted one as well.
Yeah, I'm happy to just wait for it and download it and play it on Switch, because that is a really great game. Even though I've not finished it, I've played an awful lot of that game.
The original Luigi's Mansion is one that I never played, and having played the second one, I do want to go back to the first.
It's so different.
You sold your copy at some point, didn't you?
I did sell my copy. I played a very small portion of it. I was like, this wasn't for me, and gave it away. And that was like before I was mature enough to actually enjoy a game and, get past the first few hours.
Yeah. We were really bad back in the day.
Yeah, really bad.
For me, I really want to see Monkey Ball. I want to see Monkey Ball on the GameCube Virtual Console. Come on, Sega. Bring it back.
That'd be great. Shall we move on to our next prediction?
Yeah, I was just thinking about NES, GBA, sorry, I was just saying. I think Mother 3 is the obvious one for GBA. I'd also like if they put out something like Golden Sun, maybe, a nice RPG to have there.
Well, that's on Wii U. Virtual Console
it is on Wii U,
so.
yeah, and it's something that I've been meaning to get around to for years and years, and I do want to play Golden Sun at some point, so that's one that I want to see day one. Trying to think of other GBA ones. There's quite a lot of GBA stuff.
I'd like some nice games to come to the Virtual Console that we could do a backlog club on. Like,
absolutely.
Maybe there's a couple of GameCube ones in there we could give a go.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I'm sure there are some good ones. So hopefully they go deeper in the catalog. Path of Radiance I would want to see there on it as well, because man, that game is way too expensive for its own good. But I think we can both agree that Virtual Console will be discussed in some form.
If it's not, it's an absolute travesty, isn't it? It's
kind of is.
Unacceptable.
It kind of is. So we'll see. Yeah. So Bally, let's move on then. What is your second prediction?
Smash.
Okay, what's happening with Smash Brothers?
It's looking like this year. There were those leaks that have not been confirmed, unconfirmed, right?
I think they were confirmed as fake. I was following on Twitter. Someone was saying that they were made up, but who knows at this point?
I'm predicting a Smash Deluxe, Mario Kart-esque Deluxe, package, and it'll be revealed with a trailer. And in that trailer will be a few new modes, including a Subspace-style single-player campaign with cutscenes, with characters.
That's really hoping for a lot.
I know. That's why I'm hoping. And there'll be 2 character reveals at the end in the form of the Inklings and Springman.
Okay. Do you think Springman will have an alternate color / costume for Ribbon Girl?
Yes, he will.
Okay.
So yeah, some new characters, deluxe version, and some sort of single player campaign that they're gonna shoehorn into that game. And
are you telling me that they would put the Inklings and Springman in there over Box Boy? I mean, come on, Box Boy has to be the next Smash Brothers character. It's tight, but
maybe a cheeky bit of Layton. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be nice.
But that could be a big autumn game to just go along with everything else. It's a big.
So you think
seller.
Smash is coming out this year? Then it's a 2017 game.
Yeah.
When would it come out though? Because I'm just thinking about the schedule, right? And we have Mario Rabbids, which everyone knows is a real thing at this point, which is probably August, September. You have Mario Odyssey, which is November. You have Xenoblade, which is, if it comes out, December. Where's that Smash Brothers come in? Is it August? Is it around? I don't know when Evo is, because that's the thing. I think Smash Brothers is important for the fighting game tournament to end all fighting game tournaments.
Guess it'd be like September, and
yeah,
it'd be a weird one as well, because it would put Smash in the same position as Mario Kart, where you'd expect them to make another Smash and another Mario Kart further down the line on Switch. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea for Smash to be in the same position as Mario Kart in that way. Who knows where the Switch will go in the future in terms of sales, but further down the line, 2-3 years, Smash and Mario Kart could quite easily come out like with their own Switch editions. We'll see.
Either that, or they just keep updating these games, as we had that kind of email. I think it was on last episode.
Yeah, I think it's more likely they'll update Smash and reinvent Mario Kart. Like, I think Smash is quite difficult in many ways to reinvent. And at this
point, Sakurai basically murdered himself over developing that game. I just don't think that he has it in him to do another one. Like, and honestly, Smash 4 is just such an incredible game. Like, you look at it and you're like, man, what a love letter to everything Nintendo in just the most exceptional way. And just adding on more to that and just making that a more solid package. I don't think I can really ask for much more from that franchise, honestly. Like, I don't think I really need another Smash Brothers at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I think that game is so good that it kind of stands on its own.
But ultimately, there's a community out there who are waiting for a Smash game to come to Switch before they're going to pick up a Switch.
Yeah,
so
totally.
You got to bring Smash to Switch sooner the better, arguably.
Here's another question, Bally. Do they confirm GameCube support for controller options? Do they confirm the USB thing will work with Switch?
Perhaps yes, because I mean there's USB ports in the dock, so
yeah,
why not? Let's throw that in there too. Yeah.
A bonus question: do they announce GameCube style Joy-Con to slide onto the side of the Switch?
It seems like too much of an obvious thing for Nintendo to do, and they never like doing the obvious. You know what I mean?
No, of course not.
It's like the second the Joy-Cons were revealed, there's so many people like, oh, it's just a GameCube controller stuck on the sides. Like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, all the Photoshops coming out of that were great. Of like all these different.
I mean, it
colours.
is a great idea, and it looks awesome, and it would be hilarious, wouldn't it? But
totally.
I just don't believe Nintendo will take the bait on something like that as much as I would love them to.
I mean, taking the bait just means they'll make more money, so I don't.
Yeah, but Nintendo like making their lots of money in their own ways. They don't like.
Yeah,
doing
they
it
do.
They don't like playing the game, as it were.
Yeah, I guess so.
But MBZ.
Smash Brothers overall, I think we're probably going to hear something about Smash Brothers, but I disagree with you in terms of 2017. I think, especially because they have 3 big multiplayer titles for 2017, and they're all basically coming out in the first half of the year with ARMS, Splatoon, and Mario Kart.
Yeah.
I think they want to save one of those big guns for later, so Smash, I think, is going to be a 2018 game, but probably early in 2018, because, again, with it being a deluxe version or whatever, it's not going to take as much time as creating a brand new game, so it's probably quite close or around the corner. I think in terms of characters, those are the obvious picks. A thing I do want to say, I think Ice Climbers are coming back. I think that is absolutely happening, because you don't have to worry about the 3DS version holding you back anymore. Because the whole idea with Wii U and 3DS was they had to have parity in terms of characters, and now that you don't have the drawbacks of the weaker system, you can just put Ice Climbers in the game and not have to worry. So I think they will be coming in, and maybe we'll get some older stages back as well. Maybe the 3DS stages added to the roster, revamped like that that supposed leak showed. Would be good. I would appreciate that stuff. And as much as we're both like, we don't want to buy Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, look, I'll pay anything for another Smash Brothers wherever. Look, Smash is like, it's the number 1 game on our TNL top 50 games of all time. I love that game. I will buy it again. I've already bought it twice.
Definitely buy it again.
For God's sake. So we'll buy it a third
time. We all bought it twice.
Yeah. That was a smart move by Nintendo putting the 3DS version out first. But anyway, so my second prediction, Bally. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's a big question mark. I believe Nintendo, for once in their fucking lives, I think they've been so persistent about this game coming out in 2017. And you look at the lineup and it's like, I mean, if they're doing this 1 game a month thing, which kind of has been working out, the December slot is open. Xenoblade Chronicles X came out in December, the year it came out. I think it's happening. I think it's a worldwide launch. They've been pushing for this with all their games because the lack of region locking. It's going to come out in December 2017. There'll be a new trailer, and it will show some connections to the original Xenoblade. There will be obvious connections in there, but what I think it's going to set up is that this is set in the far, far future from the ending of the original Xenoblade Chronicles. So it's not going to necessarily pick up directly with those characters and those people we know, but there are going to be repercussions from that universe happening, and we're going to see some of that in the trailer. I also think that the voice acting is going to be American, and people are going to be angry because it doesn't fall in line with the British VO of the original game, and that's going to suck, and I'm going to be annoyed by that as well because I love the British VO in the original Xenoblade, but I think that is definitely going to be a thing, and we'll see a bunch of it. I think they'll show it off at Treehouse Live. And it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing more of this game, Bally, because we've only had like a short teaser trailer for it so far. How do you think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is going to be represented at E3? Do you think it'll have a decent showing?
I think it'll be a very short, limited trailer, and I can't see it coming out this year, I'm afraid. At least like in Europe. I think it's just...
I disagree with you with the Europe comment, because I think that they are just doing away with these regional like time frames in terms of releasing video games. Every title on Switch so far has been day and date in every region, and the reason for that is because it's not region locked. Right,
but have there been any titles with as much voice acting?
No, I mean Zelda has some.
It's not anything like as much, but
it's not. But also, right. It's not just voice acting, right? It's all about dialogue and writing.
That game got delayed quite a lot.
It did, yeah, it did. I think this is a situation where they've known that this game is going to be coming to the West for a while. They've kind of done away with the whole Operation Rainfall nonsense where they don't bring out Xenoblade games, and they probably were doing simultaneous localization while development was happening in order to not have a situation wherein it comes out in Japan and then 6 months later it comes out in North America and Europe. Like, I really think that this push for being everywhere at the same time is going to manifest in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and it's going to be this year. I'm going to believe in Nintendo, and I tweeted, I think at the beginning of the year when they announced it, I was like, if Xenoblade comes out in 2017, I'll snap my Switch in half, because I did not for a 1 second believe that they had any hope in hell of bringing that game out. But they've been so persistent about it, and honestly, with E3 showing updates to games we already know about, it would be manic to show Xenoblade and announce it and then say it's delayed, because they are saying they're focusing on 2017 games, and it would kind of be a blow if they were like, nah, it's actually delayed. But I don't know. I think that you could equally be as right, because
we'll see.
Fucking Nintendo. But I don't know. Is there anything?
I'm just skeptical of a game that long with that much voice acting. Just
I know
making it, but we'll see.
What do you think of my idea that it's going to be American voice actors? Do you think that's probably going to happen?
Well, that's what they did with X, isn't it? And
yeah,
it doesn't have this. As much as I've not played enough of that game, it's just those cutscenes are just not quite the same as
I don't
the
think
original.
you need to play as much of that game to realize that. It's also the thing with Xenoblade Chronicles X is it's an incredible game, but it also has such a weak focus on story in terms of the main narrative. I think it actually has better side quests than the original Xenoblade, but in terms of just the story, it's so much weaker, and it's so much less of the thrust of it, because that game is all about just exploring a big open world.
Right.
And I do think that this game is going to be more linear. It's going to go back to the traditional Xenoblade mold of it's storytelling heavy. It's going to have a very huge focus on the narrative elements, and that may come at the cost of exploration. It may not be as free or as open a game, but I think that they will try as much as they can to meld the elements. I think the director said at some point that after they were done with Xenoblade X, they wanted to kind of go back to the narrative stuff, but also try and take some of these elements of the open world exploration and bring those in. Because as awesome as the original Xenoblade was, and as huge as those environments were, it wasn't an actual open world game. It was more huge areas that were linked together. And I think they may expand upon that for this. Certainly looks like it's going to be a big game, especially when you're looking at the giant beast that's kind of moving in the trailer, and it seems like you're maybe on the back of something. Which,
well, when the system launches with Breath of the Wild, you know that when Xenoblade eventually comes, it's got to be big. It's got to like match that, doesn't it? It's got to hit it out the park.
I feel like there's this one-upmanship going on between Nintendo EPD and Monolith, where they're like, I can make a bigger open world than you. Oh no, you see what I just did? I can make a bigger open world than you. So we'll see. Maybe I think those teams are working in tandem.
By 2030, we're just going to be playing 400-hour games.
Exactly. Yep. It's going to be our life.
It's going to be
That's
great.
all we do. Xenoblade Cross Zelda. It's going to be great.
So, my final real prediction, because my fourth one's not real, it's just, it's a bit of fun.
It's fun. Yeah.
Metroid. Retro.
What do they do?
Now is the time. It's happening. It's going to happen. And there's my little bit of evidence to back this up. I was just looking at this online before when I was taking my notes. And Per Schneider from IGN tweeted at Retro at the start of the year saying, like, really hope we're going to find out this year what you're working on. And they replied with a picture. Did you know about this?
No, I don't know. I have no idea.
They replied to Per with a picture of some steak. But not just any steak.
Conspiracy theories about the brisket.
Prime
no
rib steak.
You're wrong.
Wrong?
It's not prime. It's a brisket, Bally. We already had this discussion. We haven't had this discussion. Other podcasts have had this discussion. It's not prime steak. It's brisket.
Well, Metroid's coming whether you like it or not. So there we go. And it's gonna be Metroid Prime 4. It's 3D. It is retro, and the unique twist on this game is that the craze at the moment is to go bigger and better. So we're talking like a larger world than the original trilogy, and in the spirit of Breath of the Wild and Link Between Worlds, there will be aspects of that game that you can do in any order, and that's that's to as much as Metroid is about exploration, it's always been linear in the sense that you only have to do this boss, then that boss, then the next boss. This is going to be the first Metroid game where that sense of exploration and isolation is magnified by the fact that you can do any part of the game in any order.
You're wrong, because Super Metroid can be sequence broken to hell.
Sequence breaking doesn't count.
It totally does. Super Metroid was designed with sequence breaking in mind. Like, that entire game can be taken in a lot of different orders through a lot of different sequences. So I disagree with you on that point. I think Metroid has always been a game that has different ways in which you can get around things. It may not be like...
It's never been done in 3D, though.
It may not be in a blatant, obvious way as Breath of the Wild did it, but it has been possible. And yes, the Prime games...
Yeah, I'm talking about blatantly obvious way where the game is saying, here's a big open world that we... Not open world, it's not going to be open world in that sense. It's still going to
have the Metroid design to it.
Yeah, essentially, to create that sense of isolation, because I think that works better. But yeah, it is going to be any order and do different bosses at different times, get different power-ups, take you different places. I think it's going to be great. And it's going to come out at the start of 2018. It's not going to make 2017.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, any Metroid title that gets announced is not coming out this year. Also, I should say, like, I haven't included my obligatory 2D Metroid prediction in here, but for the sake of it, it's 2D Metroid is coming. Please.
Oh, now you've included it. It won't come.
No, I haven't included it. It's just my obligatory one. It's like I have to say it every time. It's like
you're slipping it. Don't slip it in. Just leave it out, and then it'll come.
No. I have to say it, Bally. I'm contractually bound. Like there is never a prediction segment in which I'm not allowed to say, in which I can't say 2D Metro is happening. So it's happening. I won't talk any more about it.
I should also say that I think it's the trailer for Prime 4 is going to come at the end of it's the mic drop at the end. It's the big reveal.
Okay,
it's the reveal. It's the big,
okay, couple of questions. Is it called Metroid Prime 4 or is this a reboot? Do they change do they go with a subtitle? Do they go Metroid Prime Revengeance or some like weird subtitle instead of the 4?
I can almost see them do. You know what's popular at the moment is origin stories. You know.
No. Oh God. Okay,
Metroid Prime Origins.
No, please. Let's stop.
Prime.
We already have too many of those.
Metroid Prime: The Beginning.
No.
You know? Yeah.
That's bad.
I think it might happen.
Okay. I fervently disagree with you. There's no way Retro are working on Metroid. It's not happening. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break all your hearts, but it's just not happening. Retro Studios are working on a different game, and this is my final prediction. The Retro Studios game is going to be a new IP. It will be revealed in a trailer form that will not go too in depth, but it will give you hints at what kind of game it is. It's probably going to be some kind of action-adventure type thing, but here's the thing. It's going to be story-driven. It is going to be a breakaway for Nintendo, and they're not going to be game mechanics first, story second. They're going to be story first, game mechanics second. And I think Retro, as the lone Western studio in their portfolio and who have had experience with some big blockbuster stuff with Metroid Prime, have the ability in them to try something like an Uncharted or a Last of Us and give their go at it and see if they can try something, not imitating that, but kind of doing something like that, but putting their own Nintendo spin on it, because obviously Nintendo have to be at the helm of this. They're overlooking the project, and there's going to be someone put in charge of them to kind of make sure that it all goes smooth. But the thing that I've felt over the years is, like, with Nintendo being based in Japan and they're having their philosophy over there, they've never had the wherewithal to be like, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to focus in on a more narrative, linear kind of structured game in that sense. And it all comes down to localization, right? Because you have to translate from Japanese to English. I think if this game is made by Retro, it's originally developed in English, you can have the narrative written by them and then, put into Japanese afterwards. But I think it would solve the Zelda problem, which I think Zelda just has a bad narrative because the localization is kind of messed up. And if it's a thing that is just from the ground up from a Western studio, they might have better luck doing that. And also it's coming out 2018 probably at the end because it's far away. So there you go, Bally. That's what I think.
And
How
what
do
if
you
for
feel?
this E3 we just don't find out what Retro's working on at all?
Well, then this E3 is literally a garbage truck. What the fuck are we even doing watching E3? Like, it's actually kind of ridiculous.
How long have we been waiting to find out what Retro are working on?
The last time they announced something was Tropical Freeze, and that was in
E3
2014? I
20
believe?
when? 13?
14? 13?
14.
13? 14?
I want to say 13.
13. I think it was 13. I think it was the bad year. It was the year with 3D World, and Tropical Freeze was the big Retro announcement. I think it was.
Yeah. And everyone was like, what?
Turns out the Tropical Freeze is the best game that Retro has made. So, that's the thing. It is, Bally. I'm sorry. Tropical Freeze is just leagues ahead of Metroid Prime. I'm sorry.
You
It just
just
is.
like your Metroid Prime.
Bally, I'm probably one of the only people who, if Retro announce a third Donkey Kong game, I'm going to be way happier than if they announce Metroid Prime.
I'll be happy if they're making DK, but I'm going to be equally as happy, if not more happy, if they're making Metroid. But we'll see.
Nah. If they say Metroid Prime, I'm like, fine, I guess. I'll play it. I think it'll probably be the first Metroid Prime I play.
Gaff's going to just go into meltdown either way.
Oh yeah, of course they are. Like, whatever. But I'll play it. Look, I'm not going to say I'm not going to play a new Metroid Prime. I will. I think one of the things with the Metroid Prime series.
Let's play the old ones first.
I can't be bothered to go back. Like, that's the thing. I think that they could make some modernizations to it that would make it feel a lot better, because I think there are a lot of control issues with the original Prime, and I don't even really like the motion control stuff in the trilogy re-release. I don't think it's as good as some other motion control stuff, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But how do you feel about them working on something that is more Western in style, with them being a more Western developer? Or do you think that they're just going to be like... Because honestly, Retro, as the fact that we treat them like this Western studio, they've made games that are still very Japanese and Nintendo feeling, don't you think? Aside from Metroid Prime. Like, the Donkey Kong games are... feel in the mold.
Yeah, Donkey Kong feels like EAD Tokyo in many ways, doesn't it?
Right,
It feels a lot like Jungle Beat. It's very similar art styles, similar mechanics and things like that. But Prime's interesting. It doesn't feel particularly one or the other. It's just a very well-made adventure first-person experience that has obviously shooting elements, puzzle elements. It's just a really well put together game. Even if they are making more Metroid, I can see it becoming more narrative driven and having like larger cutscenes.
I don't know if that's a good thing, considering Other M. I don't know. I mean, if Retro are in charge, then maybe it's going to turn out better than Sakamoto's efforts with Ninja.
I think Other M... I hope that Other M doesn't mean that Metroid is forever cut away from narrative-driven games, and that you can actually do a decent narrative in a 3D Metroid game. We'll see. I think it'll be a real shame if we don't at least find out what they're doing.
We have to. It's been way too long.
We'll see. Anyway.
They are kind of the ace in the hole, and they're always... I think Retro Studios are the one team that everyone has a question mark over whenever they're working on something, because they have so much potential, and if given the right thing, they could really create something special. And I think that Nintendo having faith in them and giving them the chance to create something of their own would be a special moment. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I think it could be one of those things that really attracts people to the Switch. People who are into the very kind of linear narrative PS4 style games that are out there. I don't think Nintendo has anything in their portfolio like that. And Zelda is probably the game that is the most similar to that, but it's not the same as a kind of Last of Us style thing. Yeah. So. And it's hard to say that because Naughty Dog are so leagues ahead of everyone else in terms of that style of game in the industry.
And the closest
anything
Nintendo
that tries to be close is hard.
The closest Nintendo felt to being Western in a long time is Breath of the Wild. That game just does not feel like anything they've ever done before
100%.
by a million miles. It's interesting. So a lot of
there's the potential.
Time for change.
Yeah, time for change. Speaking of time for change, it's time for us to change up the style of our predictions. Those are your 3 standard predictions. Bally, give me your wacky.
My wacky is coming. The Miiverse log. It's a combination of the Miiverse.
The Miiverse log?
Yes, Miiverse log. Okay.
What the fuck is this?
It's a combination of the Miiverse and the activity log in one app.
God. Oh my god.
And it'll allow you to share screenshots and the amount of time you're spending playing games with each other, and you're going to share your experiences.
Oh, here's an idea. What if when you post your screenshot, it has a little thing in the corner that tells you what hour count you are currently in the game?
Yeah, it's like that. And you can like look at each other's activity logs and really share your experiences of like how much you're playing, how often you're playing, what you're doing.
Have like a ranking system of like, this is how many hours I've got in this game. Look at how many more hours I have than you.
Exactly. And then that's linked to screenshots and comments and experiences, and it's going to have spoiler tags and stuff so you can check in and out of it. And it's all going to be under one roof, and it's going to be called the Miiverse log. And
Bally, I love this idea.
And it's gonna do 2 birds with 1 stone, where everyone's going, where's the Miiverse? Where's the activity log? Well, it's in the Miiverse log. That's where it's at.
That's a typically Nintendo terrible name for a thing.
And it's going to be ready by the end of the show.
Oh, it's going to be a shadow drop.
You're going to do a system download, and it's going to be there. Bang. Boom.
Man.
Time to Miiverse log.
Bally, I love this. I think this is my favorite prediction. I actually think I like this prediction more than any prediction we've done so far. And if this one comes true, I'll probably be happier than any other video game gets announced. Like 2D Metro gets announced.
It would be great, wouldn't it? Like just
yeah.
Yeah.
This honestly for me that would overshadow any 2D Metroid announcement. Like, 2D Metroid great, sure. But Miiverse log, man.
Miiverse log, mate.
I've been waiting for that all my life. Oh,
there we go.
Dear. Great. Exactly. That sounds fun. On a serious note, do you think that they're going to talk about the activity log at all? This isn't the venue for it, really, is it?
I don't think they will. And if they did, it would be something as big as what I might have suggested. Like, I can't see it being an announcement. Right. And I'm worried there's too many higher-ups at Nintendo who think that the existing gameplay time thing, whatever you want to call it, they would just count that as an activity log when obviously it's not. Which is a real shame. And like we've said before on the show, the 3DS has an incredible activity log, and why can't every Nintendo system have one?
Oh my god, why they don't just do that in every system? Like the Wii U was fine, but it was nowhere close to like the sheer beauty that is the 3DS activity log. It's just a masterpiece, honestly.
It really is. It's great. So we'll see. MBZ, what's your wacky? What's your zany? What's your out of the park?
So, I've been playing a lot of Overwatch, and it got me thinking about Blizzard and how they feel like the Nintendo of the PC space. And I always think about, like, what are the kind of genres that Nintendo hasn't approached? And when I think about Blizzard, like, every game they make is a genre that Nintendo hasn't made. And I was, like, going through, and I was like, Hearthstone's interesting, because it's a card game. Nintendo have a history of making Hanafuda cards. They have a history of making cards in their company, and I think that they will announce a Nintendo-based card game, a digital card game online that you can play against people. It's going to be some weird creation. I don't know what the rules are going to be or anything, but Nintendo are going to come up with some weird rule set for this card game. It's going to be Smash Brothers style. You're going to have all the characters from all across Nintendo franchises. You can collect all these cards. I don't know if they're going to do microtransactions. That's the one thing where I'm like, Nintendo
sounds
generally...
like they will so far with this
yeah, but that's the kind of thing with a card game, isn't it? Is it's kind of inevitable that you kind of end up down that road. But if they were to do microtransactions, I hope they would make it a free-to-play game as opposed to pay for it and then pay for microtransactions in the Jim Sterling fee-to-pay line, which would be awful. I think that stuff is just real bad. But if it was a free-to-play thing and you could, microtransactions to get cards, even trade cards with people, swap them, have like that kind of stuff. But I think Nintendo can approach this in a very Nintendo-like way, where they're not exploiting the customer and stuff like that, and a lot of these other games they do. So I think that's something that could be possible, and I think it would be really fun, and it would also work well on the Switch because the touchscreen is a useful thing for card game stuff, and it works with regular controls anyway as well. So yeah, I think that they absolutely should pursue this, because it's kind of a genre that they haven't done, aside from Pokemon the trading card game, which isn't their own game anyway. It's the Pokemon thing, and that's been digitized before, but I don't think they've really had anything like a card game on their system from their own personal franchise stuff. So
I mean, yeah, Pokemon cards, but it's not really the same, is it?
I just said that, the TCG.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think that'd be cool, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah,
all the Nintendo characters in the game together. Like, there's so few games that they're all in together. Smash Brothers is like the only one, I guess, isn't it? And
Mario Kart is slowly creeping
Mario
towards
Kart's
it.
creeping, but some sort of separate card-based thing. You're right. It could be. What if they just tie it to Amiibo though?
Oh God,
And
no!
it's like-
Please,
and
no,
it's
Bally,
like,
no!
Oh, you
now
want
you've
Mario?
Just killed
Well,
it.
you just got to scan your Mario Amiibo. Done. You've got the Mario card.
Bally, you've just killed the game. Oh no! Now I never want this to happen. Oh my God! Everyone's asking what's the Amiibo game.
I
It's
don't
gonna be
see
this
how
card
that game can come out without like linking it to Amiibo. That's the worrying thing.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's going to be like Animal Crossing cards. It's going to be like, hey, buy a real pack of these cards and scan them in with NFC, and you have them in the game. They're going to make so much money.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to do it, isn't it? It's not microtransactions, it's Amiibo. That's their microtransactions.
Yeah.
Bally, you nailed it so hard that I think this is going to happen now. I think you've sealed our fate. You've sealed our fate. Like, Amiibo and card game is just...
Screw our Series 6 predictions. Our two spoof ones are going to happen.
They're the most likely, honestly. Like, these are the ones that are really going to happen. So, there you go. Anyway, also, I was just going through my mind. I'm like, fuck, I wish Overwatch and Hearthstone were on Switch. That'd be really good. I hope Blizzard work with Nintendo at some point and try and do that, because I think the Switch is actually a perfect platform for both of those games.
Yeah, like a prediction we've not said, but like would be great, is a really big surprise third party who just says, we're going to bring our game out on Switch. Like, I don't know who or what it will be, but just someone to like take that gamble and say, you know what, the Switch is looking good. I want to make sure that our game comes out on the Switch alongside PS4, Xbox One sort of thing.
I think we've already kind of had that with Skyrim being a surprise somewhat.
I mean, like day one, you know, not like delayed.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I doubt that's going to happen just because of the power difference between the Switch and these other consoles. It's not really feasible right now unless they are thinking, man, the Switch is going to sell gangbusters, and therefore we should put the effort into doing a kind of downgraded version of it.
A bit like they used to do with the Wii.
Yeah. Although even on Wii, they didn't get the real versions. They got like Dead Space Extraction and stuff like that, which were not the actual game, but like Wii versions of the game. So anyway, those are the predictions we have for you for this year. How about, Bally, we transition over to some emails where people have written into us and given us their predictions. So let's begin with the first one, which comes from Daniel P, who's from the internet. He says, hello, Bally and NBZ. E3 is coming up, and with that, a bunch of leaks, fake and real ones, are happening. This year, it feels like it's worse than in previous ones, but maybe that's just me. Added the very likely true leaks that happened after Switch's reveal / before its release, like Pokemon Stars or the Mario Rabbit RPG, we know a lot of things Nintendo might finally confirm at E3. There are only so many games that they can develop and have ready to show at E3, and I'm a little worried we might not see a lot of unknown games. My question to you both is, do you think Nintendo will still have enough good surprises to have a good E3 in most people's opinions? Or will the fact that we already know about a lot of what they might show not compromise our opinions on how good or bad Nintendo's E3 was? Keep up the good work. So, it's interesting because I think leaks are something that take a lot of the wind out of the sails of a lot of these press conferences. Ubisoft in particular is one I think that just never has any surprises because everyone knows everything they're going to show. It was even last year, literally like half an hour before the Ubisoft press conference started, someone just leaked internal documents of like, this is the lineup of the show, and people were going down just ticking it off as the show went. It was like in the exact order, like everyone knew what was happening. So for Nintendo, usually they have stuff which is completely hidden, like so close to the vest that no one knows about it. So for me, I don't think that there's going to be that much that is known about that is going to be left with like us having no other surprises, right? I think some of them, obviously, the Mario Rabbids thing was definitely a thing they wanted to have as a surprise, as is Pokemon Stars. But honestly, I don't even know that Pokemon Stars gets any showing or billing here. Like, Pokemon at E3 is such a rarity. Like, that company operates on its own, they do their own thing, that I'm not sure that we even get a Pokemon Stars thing, especially because Stars is going to be essentially Sun and Moon again, so it's not really a huge deal. I mean, it is going to be a huge deal because it's a mainline Pokemon game, and no matter what, it's going to sell gangbusters. But from the perspective of it's not a brand new generation, it doesn't have the same impact. I think X and Y were one of the few games that got some show at E3, but I don't even think they were announced at E3. They were just talked about beforehand and then a little bit more detail at the show. Do you think, Bally, there's going to be other stuff that's going to get leaked before E3, or are we going to go in fresh?
There really has to be, because this is like the new system. This is what's happening. It's the Switch. It's here. Like, we need to know about surprises and interesting, exciting stuff that's coming to it. It's not.
It is, but also Nintendo have stated we're focusing on 2017, so a lot of that surprising stuff might be further out, and they may not. And
Right.
it's going to be stuff like the retro stuff. They'll probably just tease it and we won't get as much, and obviously that's not 2017, but them saying it's a focus on 2017 means that we're going to get a little bit of stuff from the future, which means, okay, we're probably going to get a lot of Xenoblade and some Splatoon, and we're going to see Mario Odyssey, of course, and this Mario Rabbids thing. You're starting to like tick off your fingers, and it's like, they're kind of running out of space if they're going to fit this into a 1 hour thing.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm concerned about. And I'm worried that it's going to feel a bit like 2015, if you remember, where it was like the Star Fox announcement, and then
2015 was the bad year, wasn't it?
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
2014 was Splatoon year, where they had great
2014
stuff.
was out of the park. Splatoon,
Yes.
Breath of the Wild trailer, Mario Maker reveal.
I think that is their best E3 in recent memory.
Exactly. And 2015, like, it was great production with like the Muppet style of,
Oh yeah, that stuff was awesome.
that was great, but when you look at like the list of games announced, there was I can't even remember any surprises that were that big. All the biggest things we already knew about broadly, so stuff like Star Fox. And I'm concerned that this year it's going to be, we need the things we already know about to also hit it out of the park. So like, we need to see some really exciting, cool stuff about Mario Odyssey. And I know you were saying off mic briefly, MZ, that with Mario you're less bothered about the trailers and what it shows, and like you kind of don't want to see it because it's quite spoilery. You just want to get that game and experience it. And I totally get that. But last year with Zelda, we knew it was all we were going to have, but they still hit it out the park because of what they showed us, even though we only knew Zelda was there. And I feel like they're going to try and go closer to that than trying to say, here are all these huge surprises. I think there will be big surprises, and if what Retro's working on isn't revealed, it will be a great disappointment. And I will be disappointed if we get to the end of the show, we've seen Odyssey and it's looked amazing, but outside of Odyssey and like maybe, I don't know, Splatoon, ARMS, whatever you want to talk about. Well, ARMS is already out. Well, it comes out the final day of E3, so
they better
whatever.
not spend any fucking time on ARMS. I will be extremely angry if they
Right.
spend any time on ARMS.
Exactly.
Aside from, hey, it's coming out, buy it.
But even if they spend a lot of time on Xenoblade, which like we know about, or even if it's something leaked like I don't know, Rabbids, or even Smash Brothers, even though the leak's obviously not as clear as that Rabbids leak, like we know Smash is coming to Switch at some point. We want something a bit more. Wow, was not expecting that. That's huge. I'm so glad that company's working on this. I'm excited for that, even if it is coming start of 2018.
And I think they need at least 2 of those, right? Like, I think they need...
They need to, but you won't get to. Like, that's the problem. And we always have this problem, I feel, with a lot of E3 reveals by Nintendo. Is with us, they just needed one more big hitter, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're always left there like, oh, I need the big Metroid to just mic drop at the end or something. Like, it's always just a bit of something extra that you need. And last year, like we've said, was unique, and it was just that one game, Zelda. They hit it out of the park. It was great. They showed us a lot. We didn't come away disappointed because we'd been disappointed by the reveal beforehand, not during the show. So fair enough, it wasn't ideal. But this year, you need those big, you need the mic drops.
Yeah, and I think if we get to a point where it's like one of them is a Metroid game and one of them is a new IP that looks promising, that I think is enough for me to be like, okay, this is great. Because if you have that alongside a kick-ass Mario Odyssey gameplay reveal and a deeper dive into Xenoblade 2 and actually seeing what the hell this Mario Rabbids RPG looks like and seeing some gameplay of that, like once you start to add all these things up, not to mention they've already announced a 2018 Switch game and it's the next Fire Emblem. And I would be surprised if we didn't hear anything about that as well. So like adding all these things together, you are building a picture of, hey, Switch has a promising future and this stuff looks good and a lot of it is coming out soon, so hey, be excited about it.
Definitely. It's not far away. It is not far away. But anyway, how about the next email?
Yeah, let's jump in.
It's from Brad, who's from the internet. Hi guys, love the show. Here are my thoughts. Far from concrete, I'll focus on Switch here only because I want them to focus 100% on Switch. I know that's not realistic. Also, we know they are going big on Mario Odyssey, so there's no need to note that here as it's already planned. Given ARMS and Splatoon on the horizon, I won't mention those here either. What I expect to see in the Nintendo digital event, what's it called now? The showcase. Well, it's actually called the Spotlight.
See, it's proving our point.
There we go.
No one knows what it's called.
These will also get lots of play from the Treehouse. So, Pikmin announcement, Mario Golf, an indie sizzle reel, Pokemon, DLC for Mario Kart 8, Star Fox Zero port, Paper Mario port, something from Level 5, Layton or Inazuma 11, or maybe LBX, Mario Rabbids, Mario Party, lots of Switch accessories, Animal Crossing, Amiibo, some tie-in with Capcom. You have Monster Hunter XX coming, so perhaps also smaller titles, Bionic Commando, Strider, etc. I'm sure I have plot holes all over this thing, but that's Nintendo. Hard to predict, sometimes brilliant, and occasionally really stupid. Again, love the show. Many thanks for your insight and thoughts. Also, I'll always appreciate you liked Codename Steam as much as I did. Be well, Brad.
Well, Brad, I'm glad you're on the right side of history concerning Codename Steam. It's good to hear. I'm
think
happy.
His point about Nintendo being hard to predict, sometimes brilliant, and occasionally really stupid is just so on the nose about what they're into, and they're just this mad concoction of something brilliant and occasionally really stupid. Like it's a perfect sentiment.
Yeah. So going through his list, if they show that at E3, I'm going to be super disappointed because that sounds like the wettest of balloons of E3. This sounds like a fucking budget Nintendo Direct. Like, I hope they don't port Star Fox Zero, and they can't do that because that game doesn't work unless you have the Wii U controls.
Well, they could port it if they really mix it up, you know. But
no, that's the point of that game is the controls. Paper Mario, no, that game is not coming over. The Level 5 stuff, I think they're pretty committed to 3DS right now. Lady Layton is announced for 3DS. I doubt Inazuma.
Are we going to see much 3DS, if any? They've said that we're only going to see Switch.
3DS is not going to be in the Spotlight presentation. That's going to be on Treehouse stuff, so that'll be the...
They've also said they're only going to talk about games coming out this year.
Yes,
but
exactly.
They
said a focus. They said a focus on.
Focus.
So we need to... Their wording is always... The way that NeoGAF picks apart their wording is just like the most asinine thing. It's ridiculous. But anyway, here are the two things I think stand out. Pikmin and Animal Crossing. Those are inevitabilities for the Switch. Pikmin is a more prescient one, I think, because they've already talked. Miyamoto, how many years ago now? He said Pikmin 4 is basically done.
But it's not confirmed whether that Pikmin game that was done is Hey Pikmin or not, is it?
No, he's said Pikmin 4. He didn't say it was going to be the spin-off thing. When he's talking about... Look, Miyamoto is not involved in the shitty RSS Pikmin game, all right? Like, he's talking about an actual real Pikmin game. It is Pikmin 4, and it will be coming out eventually on Switch. And I imagine it was a Wii U game at one point, and they had to rejigger it. So, they are...
Well, that would be interesting.
Do you think that's a possibility, though? Do you think Pikmin
it is a possibility.
I
would have put it in my predictions. I just thought it was a bit safe and boring, to be honest.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I agree. I would have put Animal Crossing as well, but it's because it's safe and boring. There's this thing, like, going around. I was tweeting the other day. Someone was saying, like, man, I'd be so excited if Nintendo announced Animal Crossing at E3. And I was like... Animal Crossing's a really good game. There is nothing exciting about an Animal Crossing announcement. Absolutely nothing. Because Animal Crossing, of all Nintendo's franchises, is the most safe, boring, like snail's pace in terms of improvements over the years. It is the same fucking game every time, and all these people are going to be screaming like, well, you're the mayor in this one and you can change it. Like, no, shut the fuck up. It's the same game. It's the same fucking game. You've been playing the same game for 4 iterations. They need to actually they need to change something about that game to make it exciting. Like, I think one of the big problems is the aesthetic.
I think they will, though, you know?
Yeah, I hope, but like I just looking at that franchise and knowing how successful it is not changing, just like Pokemon, why would they, Bally? Like, why the fuck would they? There's no incentive for them to change. It's easy for them to make another one, so they'll make another one. And people will love it because it's on the Switch and it looks nice, and hey, I can take it with me, but also at home. It kind of solves the Animal Crossing problem.
When did New Leaf come out? 2013?
I believe it was 2013. It was the year when 3DS was fucking kicking ass. When Fire Emblem Awakening came out, Luigi's Mansion 2 came out, that came out, Animal Crossing came out.
It feels like we're so close to New Leaf that they would have to surely put something in that's a bit funky, a bit different.
It was 4 years ago, you know?
Exactly.
Like, it's not that close. So
I don't know. Yeah.
By Animal Crossing standards, yeah, definitely. But, yeah, no, I think if we're talking about, hey, we have a certain number of slots for announcements, right? Like, Nintendo has a limited number of announcement slots in their lineup. I don't want an announcement slot being taken up by Animal Crossing. Do an Animal Crossing in a direct later down the line. Speak to your people about it, you know? Go to the source. Please don't mess up a good Nintendo E3 with an Animal Crossing game. Great if it happens, but, you know, it's not what E3 is about. Like, E3 is about exciting announcements. Animal Crossing, definitively not an exciting announcement. So, that's where I stand on that anyway. Anything else you want to pick out from his list here, Bally?
Switch accessories? Are we going to see, like,
the Joy-Con D-pad, the fabled
Joy-Con?
D-pad Joy-Con, maybe.
Can we just have a D-pad Joy-Con? Why can't they just get on with it?
God.
You know?
If we had a D-pad Joy-Con, I wouldn't even need to buy a Pro Controller because I'm fine with the grip. Like, I actually like that thing. So,
yeah,
it would solve a lot of problems for me.
It'd be
honestly.
nice to get the D-pad Joy-Con to stick in the grip, you know? And then maybe that saves us getting a Pro Controller at all.
Right, because then you have a double set, I guess, like 2 pairs.
I still want a Pro Controller. It's got bigger buttons and...
totally.
I'd like to feel that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Pro Controller is the way to go in the end. But I don't know what other Switch accessories they would be announcing aside from more different colored Joy-Cons. You see the Splatoon bundle in Japan? They're doing the, as I think I predicted, like the green and pink colored Joy-Cons to match the style.
That's cool.
They look really good, actually. Like, they're the first ones I've seen where I'm like, oh, man, those look really good.
I was thinking, like, you know, so we've got 1-2 Switch that's based around, like, the blue and the red Joy-Con. If they announced, like, 3-4 swap or something, and it's it's a yellow and green Joy-Con that come with it.
No,
you know, and it's designed for 4 players rather than 2 players.
Don't say the word 3-4 swap in my face ever again. I don't want to hear
Switch,
that.
3-4 swap.
What the no?
Have you got the one? And then you can be like, have you got the 1-2-3-4 series?
No, God, fuck off. No, I can't deal with this Bally. No, please.
I'll give you that prediction for free.
My ears are bleeding right now. I never want to hear that out of your mouth again. Oh, God. I think the last thing I want to pick up on is Mario Party. Mario Party feels like Oh fuck! Please.
It's got to have online, and we're
Mario...
not interested. Like, surely
Exactly.
that's the rule. Like,
Yeah, it is the rule.
We can't play with the devil like that.
I think that that's more of a Nintendo Direct announcement because it's not a big major thing. So I don't think we're going to see that here. But yeah, indies I think might be relegated to the Treehouse. Honestly, I think that even the Switch indies that are happening, they'll probably get their own segment. There might be a reel in the middle. It might say, hey, here's the release date for Stardew Valley, which would be great. Here's the release date for, some other indie games coming.
What's that Advance Wars like?
Wargroove.
Wargroove. I'd like to see some more about that game.
Totally, yeah. I hope they're like demoing stuff like that on Treehouse. That would be great to watch. Yeah, but yeah, an interesting list. Definitely not a list that I am pining for. But, as he said, Nintendo hard to predict, sometimes brilliant, and occasionally really stupid. I think this list probably fits that in a way. So there you go. Let's move on then to our final email, which comes in from Colin from the internet. He says, hello, Nbz and Bally. I hope you're both doing well. We are. Thank you for asking. E3 is around the corner, and I just got my ticket for the hype train. I'm eager to see what each conference will unveil, especially Nintendo. E3 has always been a magical time for me because, in a way, it feels like Christmas, but in June. Right, here are my 3 predictions that I believe we will see during the Nintendo digital event this year. Again, no one knows the name of this thing, Bally. It's a Spotlight event, but
screw it up, Colin. Come on.
It's not his fault, Bally. My point is Nintendo just need to stop changing their names. Anyway, number 1. Virtual Console. I believe that Nintendo will finally unveil their plans for the Virtual Console during the digital event, as well as a shadow drop a few titles that people can download immediately following the presentation. Whether that will include GameCube games or the elusive Mother 3, who knows? All I know is that it will happen. Do you want to take these one at a time, Bally?
Sure, yeah. Well, we've already talked about Virtual Console.
Yeah.
It's quite a vague prediction from Colin, quite safe, but...
A little bit. I think the Shadow Drop one is a bit more out there, because I don't think Virtual Console is happening the day of E3. It's definitely seems a thing that's going to be a bit more out there.
Because, and we both think in our predictions that there'll be some sort of crossover, as in like moving your games across from
over,
Wii U and 3DS, that it'll take more sort of development and more nitty gritty than that, and then it's not going to be a drop announcement. It's going to be like, well, I predicted end of summer, you predicted end of the year. So I think that it's going to take a while, whatever it is. So I'd be really surprised at Mother 3 being available at the end of the show, for example.
Yeah, totally. I think it would do a lot of goodwill. Especially, it would also nicely mirror the couple of years ago where Itoi had his little video before the show, and he was like, "Oh, here, Earthbound Beginnings is coming out, and it's out today, and you can download it now." I think it would be nice to kind of, do that again. But yeah, I'm not sure it's going to happen. I just don't see it. But we can hope, we can dream. His second prediction: Pokemon Switch. All the rumors and signs are pointing for a Pokemon mainline game to appear on the Switch. Having a Pokemon Stars or Diamond and Pearl remake on Switch will widen its appeal as a console and make it more desirable. Plus, for those of us who have played Pokemon since we were kids, seeing a mainline game on a home console with amazing graphics has always been the dream. Make it happen. So yeah, I think that we both are kind of skeptical about whether Stars will even show up during the Nintendo thing.
I'd also be skeptical about how much they change in terms of graphical power of Stars.
Yeah, I do not think it's going to be a big upgrade.
I think it might be a very ugly looking Switch game, to be honest.
Yeah, it probably will be.
And like I've already picked up Sun. There's no way in hell I'm going to get Stars. I need to play Sun first. And
God damn it. I'll
maybe get back into Pokemon later down the line, but like I'm just personally not hyped about that. Of course it's going to sell well. It's like you were talking about earlier with like an Animal Crossing announcement. A Pokemon Stars would be in that similar bracket. It'd be like, well, that was kind of expected. Great. Can you move on to something I've not heard about, kind of thing? Like
basically,
it's not the best announcement. And like you said before, Pokemon rarely makes an appearance at E3.
Absolutely. So his third prediction is Animal Crossing mobile game. We haven't heard anything about this game for a long time, and I think a 1-minute trailer showing it off could work in the presentation. Maybe how it could tie into Animal Crossing for the Switch? Who knows? E3 is no stranger to mobile game announcements. Bethesda, Square Enix, EA, and I believe even Ubisoft have all shown off mobile games/apps in their conferences. If we don't hear about this game at E3, I think we can all assume that Animal Crossing mobile has been scrapped. I disagree. I don't think that them not showing it at E3 means it's scrapped at all. Of course it's happening. It's just a thing that I think doesn't speak to this audience, right? Like E3 is not the show where you're announcing stuff like that. The reason Bethesda, Square Enix, all these people have done it is because these are like kind of throwaway addendums. Like the Bethesda Fallout Shelter thing was, hey, it's available today. You can download it for free. It's this thing. It's, you know, we're having this excitement about Fallout 4. Here's this bonus thing. I think Nintendo with the Animal Crossing mobile game want to give it a platform and they want to actually make this a success. So doing it as a throwaway addition when you're in the company of these big real video games on Switch doesn't make sense to me at all. The mobile stuff for Nintendo, I think they are going to keep separate, and I think people will be very angry if they take up space in their presentation that is supposed to be out about their brand new console about a fucking mobile game, quite honestly. And I know you feel the same.
Yeah, I agree. Like it's not, Nintendo just are not prepared to make space in their E3 lineup for a mobile game, and neither they should. So
no,
I'd be very disappointed if they spent time on Animal Crossing mobile game at E3.
Yeah. And then he finishes off by saying, I know I said 3 predictions, but I have one last pie in the sky, Planet Huber style prediction. F-Zero Switch. Recently, it seems that futuristic races are coming back, with games like Fast RMX, Redout, and Sony reviving Wipeout. No doubt there seems to be a demand for these types of games. Instead of relying on these publishers to make their games onto the Switch, Nintendo can capitalize on this and revive F-Zero for the Switch. Anyways, thanks for reading my long email. Keep up with the great work. It's one of the few things that keeps me sane while living in Trump's America. Cheers, Colin. Well, thank you, Colin. I'm glad that someone is keeping you sane in that country. Don't worry, it's pretty bad here as well. So,
election fun.
Yeah, anyway, F-Zero Switch is his last blowout, Bally. I think it's one of your dreams and hopes as well, but
yeah, I've not really talked about Advance Wars or F-Zero. I quickly on Advance Wars, I don't think intelligent systems are like in a position where they're ready to...
I mean, there was that comment recently that was just making rounds about how they were like, well, we don't really know how to make the characters appealing. And it's like, for fuck's sake, just... make an Advance Wars games, you tits. Like, it really pisses me off how Nintendo are like, well, we really can't think of a good way to bring back F-Zero, and yet they fucking shit out Animal Crossing the same game again and again. It's like, you goddamn idiots. It's like, that's annoying. Not the real excuse. The real excuse is it doesn't sell, like, and that's the problem.
I was just going to say Fire Emblem, what's the convoluted name of the game you've just played, or playing?
Echoes, Shadows of Valentia.
Echoes, Shadow of Valentia. It's just come out. I don't think they're in any position to say like, "Hey, here's Advance Wars." So that's why I didn't think that's like here.
The amount they are doubling down on Fire Emblem means that all of Intelligent Systems resources are geared towards that franchise and not Advance Wars.
Right.
And, they're the ones who make those games. That's what it is. But with stuff like Wargroove happening, I think that indies are going to be picking up the slack on this stuff.
And like they're going to be straight into Fire Emblem Switch, so I'm not going to be predicting Advance Wars for quite some time to come. F-Zero it's really a strange one. It's very difficult to predict. You're right, there has been a strange demand in sort of futuristic races to some degree, and they've sort of been filling a gap as well.
I don't really know if it's that much of a demand as much as it's like people filling the gaps because there is a niche audience who want them. Like, I wouldn't call Sony reviving Wipeout because they're not reviving Wipeout. They're just doing an HD re-release of all those games. Like, it's not really a revival of any sort. So
and who knows that even if Nintendo did release a FHD F-Zero online functionality, whatever you want to call it, how well it would really do, like, and how big that audience is. It's hard to say, and it would be. I mean,
GameCube Virtual Console with F-Zero GX could be a testing ground to some degree.
Yeah, definitely. And as long as they can get the rights all sorted and stuff with that game because I know it's like Sega and some stuff like that. Anyway,
yeah. Well, I mean, Nintendo owns the IP, so I don't think Sega.
So I
really...
think they're fine with that.
Yeah,
it's interesting. I as we've said in our predictions so far, like this year is very crowded and busy, and F-Zero will struggle if it is coming in a year like this to shine. So it's not the right time. That's how I feel. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. But again, it is his pie in the sky prediction, so unlikely to happen, as probably ours are unlikely. Although, as we said before, probably more likely than the other ones. But those are the emails we have. But we also had a few tweets come in to the Twitter account. Bally, do you have those available?
So from Alison T, who's at Meowth900, says a new Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch is their prediction. Dankaze Midori, who's at Dankaze Midori, says Final Fantasy VII Remake for Switch announcement. I
like this one. Definitely the idea that Cloud and Smash Brothers had this unholy alliance between Square and Nintendo. Think that there is a possibility this happens, but also this game isn't coming out for 20 years, so we'll see.
Right, exactly.
The Switch won't be a console by the time this game comes out. So.
MacGab or at Mabgak, Mario Luigi Superstar Saga DX, and possibly some other KOF Mother 3 KOF GBA remakes. That sentiment is shared by Jack Ollentern, who's at plenty_of_juice. Mother 3 completely rebuilt in 3D. Monster Hunter Generations U 3DS Switch simultaneous West release. Super Metroid reimagining and Pokemon on Switch. It goes on to say Final Fantasy VII Remake on Switch. Some form of Resident Evil. I don't know. Clearly, I've gone off the beaten path.
Yeah, a little bit. Resident Evil trying to recapture the glory of the GameCube days, I think, but I don't think that's going to be happening. But I do like his Super Metroid reimagining, because I think one of the things that is distinctly possible, Bally, is they bring Metroid back by remaking Super Metroid. I think that's a safe way of bringing Metroid back.
In 3D.
I can see that happening. I don't know if it would be in 3D. I think it might just be a pretty version of Super Metroid.
I think that would be, either of those would be unbelievable, and I'd be very excited for. I love that game.
Absolutely. And that pretty much is it for our E3 special, pre-E3 special, we should say, because our E3 special, which will be on Tuesday, the 13th of June, after Nintendo Spotlight presentation, is going to be happening. So let's lay out the plans once again for you people. We are going to be uploading as soon as possible all our reactions and thoughts and everything on Nintendo's announcement as soon as we can, and that will go up on the day. So keep a lookout on your podcast feed. It'll also go up on the YouTube channel at the same time. So wherever you would be, you should be able to watch that. I'm also planning to live stream myself watching the Nintendo Showcase, the Spotlight event. Bally might be there, depends on if he's back home in time or not, or whatever.
I will try to make it.
We'll see. But you can find that live stream. It'll be at twitch.tv/Lordnbz, which is my personal Twitch channel. So whenever that's happening, if you want to watch me react live, you can do that. If not, I'll probably upload my live reaction to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/EmperorZNB. God, Jesus.
We've not plugged that in a while on the podcast, have we?
I don't think I've ever plugged that on the podcast. But in any case, yes, you can go there and find that. That pretty much closes things out. Let's tell people where they can find us in the meantime. All that good stuff. Bally, where can you be found?
Please find me on Twitter. I'm at Ballyman91. That's BALLYMAN91. Also, check out the podcast Twitter, which is at TNL Podcast. That's at TNL Podcast. That's the best place to go for updates on when the podcast comes out and when videos go up on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/ThisNintendoLife. Make sure to check out all those places.
You definitely want to be following the podcast Twitter during this E3 season. We're going to be tweeting out a lot of stuff, maybe putting out some polls to see what you guys think about the announcements and all that good stuff, and get your feedback, and hopefully get some tweets in maybe for the next show. I think it might be a little bit too much of a short time period to get some long emails in, but if you can tweet us some stuff, that'll be good. But we'll... again, if you follow that account, we'll be talking about that closer to the time. You can find me at Lordnbz on the Twitters, just hanging out, doing my usual stuff, playing ARMS. I forgot to take a lot of screenshots in the ARMS test punch. I don't think I took any, actually, so can't be sharing those on Twitter, unfortunately, but we'll see. If I pick up the main game, then that'll happen. You can find the show in various places. We're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher. You can download us through various podcasting apps, whatever you choose, whatever you please. That's basically us. Any last things? The email address, Bally. Why don't you tell people?
The email address is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. That is thisnintendolife@gmail.com. As MBZ said, it's going to be a quick turnaround after the Nintendo Spotlight. So if you do have time to send an email, send it there. Otherwise, give us a tweet at TNL Podcast.
Great. Bally, it's time. Next time we talk, it will be E3 will have happened. Nintendo's announcements will be out there. Are you confident? That's my real question. Are you confident that Nintendo can deliver this year?
We talked about the big mic drops, and you said sort of like we need 2 announcements earlier.
Yeah,
you said 2. I think we're gonna get 1. I just don't see us getting 2. So I'm gonna,
okay.
I will be satisfied with 1, but I won't be overjoyed. I'll be really happy with 2.
I agree. I think that's going to be the sealer. And hopefully they do. Hopefully they deliver. Hopefully it's a great show. I know you guys are all going to be listening along, watching along with us. Hope you all enjoy E3. I might just put a quick call out here. It's a very important time for the podcast because it probably gets downloaded more this time of year than any other time of the year. So if you would be so kind as to leave us a review on iTunes, that would be very much appreciated. Only takes a few minutes of your time. Really helps the show. Very important to our visibility. So if you can spare some free time to go review us on iTunes, please do that. Very helpful. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be it. We will see you next time in a few days with Nintendo E3 stuff. Until then, thank you for listening, and goodbye. The musical interlude used on today's show was an 8-bit version of the main theme from ARMS. Copyright Nintendo 2017.